Hi friends, welcome to the introduction of the Principles in Language Learning Apps. I'm Yiran Wei. Today I'm going to introduce 6 important second language acquisition principles in language learning apps. I will give examples using popular apps you can find in Apple Store. Some of them are free, some are not. First, let me ask a question. Which language apps are you using? What do you like about them? If you are a language app designer, what do you think is the most important principle when designing apps? Alright, before introducing all the principles, I want to introduce myself. I'm Yiran Wei, you can call me Nikki. I am a graduate student in Peabody College at Vanderbilt University. My expertise is teaching English as a second or foreign language. With great interest in educational technology, I did research on using technology in language classrooms as well as on self-learning apps. Under the guidance of my amazing professor Stacy Johnson, I developed this webinar to criticize current apps based on second language acquisition principles. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the principles. The first principle is to provide large amount of comprehensible input to learners. Comprehensible input is language input that can be understood by learners, though they don't understand all the words and structures in it. According to Krashen's input hypothesis, when learners are provided with language that are comprehensible but just a little more advanced than the student's current ability, they could acquire new vocabulary and grammatical accuracy gradually. Since comprehensible input is based on speakers' language proficiency, teachers need to know their students' language levels. However, mobile apps are not as intelligent as human, so most of them only provide 3 choices for users to choose: novice, intermediate, or advanced. In all the apps I analyzed, Liulishuo does the best job in differentiating language levels. It has an assessment system which includes 8 levels. Users need to have an evaluation test for around 15 minutes, and the system could decide in which level the user is and recommend different courses later. So compared with other apps, it is more detailed and providing more choices for users with different proficiency. A common way to support comprehensible input is to use visual aids. In most apps, pictures were employed to give hints about the meaning of new words. Some of them include video clips from movies or shows. In my opinion, videos are more authentic and they encourage both incidental and intentional learning. I will talk about this principle later. The second principle is to promote input processing by learners. According to Van Patter's model of second language acquisition and use, the first step is to convert the input into intake through initial perception and processing. That means users should not be given all the rules of grammar or meaning of words. They need chances to interpret and comprehend by themselves. Rosetta Stone is an expert on promoting input processing by students. Besides using pictures as a support to convey the meaning, it also employs the old words which were already learned by users to make sense of new vocabulary and grammar. In this way, users repeatedly practice their old knowledge and employ reasoning skills to understand grammar. For example, when I learned French through Rosetta Stone, it first taught me the French words of girl, girls, boy, and boys. Then it showed the verb boire with pictures and its subject. Therefore, I could understand that boire and boive are the different conjunctions for the same word drink. Duolingual is also a good example on having users to figure out word meaning and grammar by themselves. When presenting new words, Duolingo provides options in users' first language for them to choose and check their assumptions. They have 5 chances, so if they made too many wrong assumptions, they have to stop learning and wait for several hours. Duolingual also provides some hints when users click on new words, so they can have some clues. The third principle is to present new words repeatedly and frequently. Based on memory research in psychology and second language acquisition research, it is necessary to repeat new words multiple times in immediate input segment or repeat over time. Present only one time is not useful for second language acquisition. More exposure to meaning-oriented input will help learners accumulate their vocabulary. This principle is followed very well by almost every language learning apps. You may also find that when you are using your apps. Here, I use Duolingo again as a great example for repeating new words. Besides repeating new words while learning, it automatically generates a section of users' weakest words at the end of every unit, so that users can practice them more. The fourth principle, present new world settings with the purpose of communication. As we all know, the purpose of learning language is to use it as a communicative tool. Therefore, learners need real-world settings to practice their new languages in the target society. While presenting language in real-world settings, it helps learners to increase their communicative competence, gain knowledge about target society and culture, as well as understand the meaning of words in context. Though a great number of apps only focus on vocabulary, some employ example sentences or videos to create real-world settings. In this example, FluentU is using a cartoon video to introduce language used in Starbucks. In this video, users learn the sentence to order food, and they could also learn the fact that the word tall means almost the smallest in Starbucks shop. Here, words are introduced in their context to help learners understand the word in target culture rather than only presenting the corresponding first language translation. Moreover, with the development of technology, some apps are able to simulate real conversations between apps and users. Liulishuo is one that enables users to make real conversation with an AI robot. There are different situations as backgrounds, such as airport, office, fairy tales, or even the most popular games. Lots of guidance were provided to elicit words from users, and feedbacks were given based on speech recognition technology. Also, the plots are very engaging. The fifth principle, promote both incidental and intentional learning. Vocabulary is acquired incidentally through indirect exposure to words and intentionally through explicit instruction in specific words. Scientific research on vocabulary instruction reveals that most vocabulary is acquired incidentally through indirect exposure to words. That means learning apps need to offer instructions on new languages and at the same time provide great amount of input without having users to process it. An example of promoting only intentional memorization is flashcards apps like Drop and Memrise. In those apps, there's no other forms of input other than flashcards. Users could only repeat new words again and again. On the contrary, if videos or stories are employed, there will be more incidental acquisition. For example, in FluentU, users could watch videos as well as learning some keywords in the videos. Similarly, Liulishuo allows users to dub movies in order to practice their pronunciation. In this process, though no explanation is provided to pronunciation, new words, or grammar, users are able to intentionally imitate native speakers' way of speaking, as well as incidentally pick up some phrases or new words. Research shows that change the property of linguistic signal would enhance learners' acquisition. That means to present target words in the voice of multiple talkers. The variation of speaking styles and rates could help learners acquire the words better. In most apps, there are female and male voice. Apps that present videos usually include more talkers, like FluentU and Liulishuo. Besides, Memorize presents very short clips of different native speakers speaking the target words, so it also implies great acoustic variety. Last but not least, some cognitive factors are also important. Let me ask a question. Have you ever used a language app for a few days or weeks, recited some words, and then forgot about it for a long time? A good app can arouse users' motivation to learn more. Duolingual has a system of health and gem. It encourages users to take the challenge of maintaining a streak, which means learning in continuous days and get more rewards. A lot of users find that to keep the streak is one important thing to remind them opening the app every day. Metacognitive strategies such as planning, monitoring, and reflecting are important in traditional language learning classrooms, as well as learning through new technologies. App users should be given chances to set their daily plan, such as the number of new words or courses, or the time they want to use the app every day. Also, users are able to monitor their learning process if they are given their progress. Most apps do a good job. For example, Rosetta Stone does a great job on showing users' progress for each lesson, including accuracy, time left, and words skipped or not seen. So those are the 6 important second language acquisition principles in language learning apps. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to leave a comment or contact me. Thank you for listening.